I bought a used African gray parrot. Then I heard something I was never supposed to hear. My name is Daniel, and what happened to me 2 years ago still keeps me awake at night. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't investigating crimes. I just wanted a pet. It all started on a rainy Saturday morning when I visited a local estate auction. Most people were there for antique furniture and old jewelry. I was only browsing, hoping to find something interesting. That's when I saw the cage. Inside was a beautiful African gray parrot. His feathers were slightly worn, and he looked older than most parrots I had seen, but his eyes were incredibly sharp. He watched every person who walked by. A small tag on the cage simply read, "Parrot, owner deceased." Nobody seemed interested in him. When the bidding started, I offered $50. Nobody else bid. The bird was mine. On the drive home, he remained silent. Not a single sound. I actually wondered if he could speak at all. When I got home, I placed the cage near my living room window. For 2 days, he barely moved. Then, on the third evening, he suddenly spoke. "Good morning, Richard." The voice was clear and human-like. I laughed. "So your owner's name was Richard?" The parrot tilted his head. Then he said nothing else. Over the following week, he learned my name surprisingly fast. Sometimes he would greet me when I came home from work. Other times he repeated random phrases. Nothing unusual, nothing scary, at least not yet. Everything changed one night around 2:30 a.m. I woke up because I heard voices downstairs. At first, I thought someone had broken into my house. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my phone and quietly walked toward the living room. Then I froze. The voices were coming from the parrot. But it wasn't just random words. It sounded like a conversation, a real conversation. A man spoke first. "Please calm down." Then a woman's voice. "I'm calling the police." The bird switched back to the man's voice. "No, put the phone down." The woman's voice returned. "You lied to me." Then silence. The parrot lowered his head. I stood there completely confused. The next morning, I convinced myself it was nothing. After all, parrots repeat what they hear. Maybe he had memorized an argument from years ago. But the next night, it happened again. This time there was more, much more. The same voices returned. The woman sounded terrified. "Stay away from me." The man's voice became aggressive. "You weren't supposed to find out." Then came a loud crash, a scream, and suddenly, nothing. The bird became silent. My skin crawled. I started recording every time the parrot spoke at night. Over the next 2 weeks, I collected hours of audio. The conversations seemed connected, like pieces of a story, a frightening story. One evening, while organizing the recordings, I noticed something strange. The man was repeatedly called Richard, the same name the bird had spoken during his first week with me. That couldn't be a coincidence. I began researching. The auction company gave me the address of the deceased owner. His name had indeed been Richard Hale, 72 years old, lived alone, died of natural causes. Nothing suspicious. But when I searched deeper, I found something else. 21 years earlier, a woman named Emily Carter had disappeared. She had been reported missing and never found. The last known location connected to the case? Richard Hale's neighborhood. My stomach tightened. I kept reading. No arrests, no evidence, case unsolved. I looked back at the sleeping parrot. Suddenly, the bird felt less like a pet and more like a witness. The next few nights became unbearable. Every night, new fragments emerged. The parrot repeated arguments, threats, crying, pleading. Then one night he said something he had never said before, a sentence that changed everything. The woman's voice whispered, "If anything happens to me, they will find me under the floor." I replayed the recording 10 times, maybe 20. The words were clear, under the floor. The next day I contacted the police. At first, they were skeptical. Honestly, I couldn't blame them. Imagine telling detectives that your parrot might know something about a 20-year-old disappearance. It sounded ridiculous. But after listening to the recordings, one investigator became interested. Not because of the bird, because of the details. Some names and locations mentioned by the parrot had never been publicly released. The recordings shouldn't have contained them. A formal investigation began. Weeks passed, then months. Eventually, detectives obtained permission to search Richard's former house. The same house where the parrot had lived for decades. I followed every update. One cold November morning, I received a phone call. The investigator sounded different, quiet, serious. They had found human remains under the wooden floorboards in the basement, exactly where the parrot's recording suggested. DNA testing confirmed the identity. Emily Carter, missing for 21 years, found because of words repeated by an old African gray parrot. The story quickly spread through local news. People called it a miracle. Others called it impossible. Some believed the bird had solved a murder. But what happened next is why I'm telling this story. Because it didn't end there. Several weeks after the discovery, the parrot became strangely active. He spent hours staring into empty corners. Sometimes he appeared frightened. One night, I woke up to the sound of flapping wings. The cage door was open. The bird never left his cage voluntarily. Yet there he was, standing in the middle of my living room, looking toward the dark hallway, completely still. Then he spoke. But this time, it wasn't Richard's voice. It wasn't Emily's voice either. It was a voice I had never heard before. A deep male voice, slow, cold. The parrot said, "He knows." I felt every hair on my body stand up. The bird continued, "He knows where she is." Then silence. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The next morning, I reviewed my security cameras. At exactly the moment the bird spoke, something appeared in the hallway. Not a person, not an animal, just a dark shape, a shadow. It remained visible for less than 2 seconds before disappearing. Maybe it was a camera glitch. Maybe exhaustion was affecting me. That's what I kept telling myself. 3 days later, the parrot died. The veterinarian couldn't explain it. He wasn't sick. He wasn't injured. He simply died, just like that. I buried him behind my house, beneath a large oak tree. Sometimes I wonder whether he was simply repeating sounds he had memorized decades earlier. That explanation makes sense. It should be enough. But there's one detail I never shared publicly. One detail that still terrifies me. The night before he died, I heard him speak one final sentence. A sentence I never recorded. A sentence spoken in Emily's voice. Soft, barely above a whisper. She said, "Thank you for finding me." And after that, the house became silent forever.